What is going on, everyone? It is Tyler McKinney back here again, and let's get to the Week 5 reactions, because I've got a lot of them, and we got a lot of information to cover. All right, let's not waste any time here. Listen, if it's your first time here, glad to have you. If you're a return viewer, thanks for coming back. Thanks for watching more videos. And if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. Hey, it helps the channel out. And I love all you guys who are out there, who are watching all the videos, watching all the stuff, keeping up with everything. And listen, I see it and I pay attention. Not only do I pay attention to the comments, but I also try to comment back and listen. I love having good conversations throughout the comments and in the comment sections. And speaking of that, I want to give a shout out to Kyle. Kyle said, I had to come back after watching the game to watch this video again. Just want to say you called it. Late night Sunday games are the bomb, and what a game this was. Man, this was a good one. He was talking about the LA Tampa Bay game. That was a back and forth game. It was crazy, and it went up all the way to the end. Tampa Bay was driving within the last minute and ended up unfortunately throwing an interception. We still have not gotten our first overtime game yet in the XFL. But listen, Kyle, I do appreciate you coming back and watching more videos. And listen, hey, anybody else who needs to go back and watch any more videos, I would love to have you watch more videos and do that. And thanks, guys, all of you for supporting the channel and watching the videos and just supporting the content like you have. It's just been amazing, and it's been fun, and it's been great. And unfortunately, in this video, I'm going to cover some housekeeping stuff here first, but then we'll definitely get into the reactions. And first and foremost, this weekend was crazy. It was different, and hopefully, I don't know, maybe you liked it being different, maybe you didn't, I don't know. Let me know down in the comment section. Do you like that I used to do the way that I did the videos before, which was every I broke down the games, but I did them in 2 videos. So I did the Saturday games and then the Sunday games, and I did them kind of in pairs, where 2 games on one video, 2 games on another video. Or did you like it the way that I did this week, which I did every one of the games on a different video? So let me know down in the comment section which way you'd like me to do. It really wasn't any different for me to do. I thought, maybe I'd try it up, maybe change it up a little bit, and that with it. So, we'll see what kind of comments and stuff you guys come out with, and that with it. And again, listen, leave me comments, and I'll definitely feature them. And speaking of featuring them, I got from Concept Coasters. Concept Coaster says, I may not comment in every video, but definitely watch them all. Throw me a shout out sometime. Well, hey, here you go. So there it is. Listen, you guys keep commenting and doing this stuff. I'll definitely give you guys shout outs and doing that. Why? Because I don't know. It's just fun to interact and to do that kind of thing with it. Now, this weekend, it was crazy. It was one of the most interesting experiences that I've had down at the Arnold. It was crazy, and I will definitely go over that in our live stream. Speaking of the live stream, I'm going to switch back to Tuesday night. I'm just going to do Tuesday night. Seems to be the XFL Chalk Talk guys, they keep jumping all over the place, and I think that they're back on their Wednesday night live show thing or whatever. So I know that some of you guys like to watch that. So I don't want to make you choose between one or the other. So I'll just go, but we'll go back to 9:30 on Tuesday. So tomorrow night, 9:30, and I'll put out a little post thing and maybe put something on Twitter and that, and let everybody know. Put the word out there too for me if you don't mind, if you're watching this video, and that, and we'll do that, and I'll go over the Arnold and kind of the whole experience of the weekend. But unfortunately, throughout the weekend, I just didn't get a chance to really put up a reaction video like I wanted to. I got to watch the Saturday games, but by the time I got around to the games and everything, and it was just not going to work out with the way that we had everything set up and the way that everything was. And then Sunday, it was just a mess. So we didn't get back until later in the afternoon, and then by the time I watched the first game and then got through the first game, and then the 9 o'clock game started, I just wasn't going to be able to get a reactions video out. So I apologize, guys. So you're getting it right now. So without further ado, my reactions for Week 5. My reactions for Week 5 are just... Listen, I thought it was a great weekend of football. I thought that the XFL continued to really put out a good product. And listen, all of the games. So we had a 32-23 one-score game. We had a 30-12, wasn't a one-score game, but it was kind of it was an all right game for the second game on Saturday. Game on Sunday, we had a 15-6, another one-score game, and then we had a 41-34 one-score game. So three out of the 4 games were one-score games. And speaking of 3 out of 4 ain't bad, because that's how I did in my picks this week. Who knows? Like I said, from week to week it's crazy, and games didn't maybe necessarily go out exactly how I wanted them to, but hey, a win's a win, and I'll take 3 more of them, especially with a record like 3-1. That's a way to get back. And I thought, man, Tampa Bay, you almost had me go undefeated this week. But we'll let that slide. But yeah, I thought it was another great weekend of XFL football. You know, I loved watching it. I loved all of this stuff. I mean, what can I say? It's just good stuff. And let's just start right there with the XFL. Let's just start with the attendance stuff. So the attendance this week, again, was down, and it was down from last week. Last week, they were able to get over that 70,000 people mark, and this week, they just didn't make it. The reality of it is that this week, things were down again, and I had high hopes for it. The first couple days they were running around, you guys know all the numbers in that, and we can you can dive into the exact numbers here and there and that with it. But we were running around 35,000 ish people the first couple days. The first couple games, and then, when I thought that they did a fantastic job. I didn't realize that DC was pulled out like what they did. I pulled out like 18,000 people, and then to do what they did in LA, and only a little over 12,000 people there, which LA's just been a hard place for them to get people to come and to show up. Seemed like the crowd that were really enjoying it there. So I thought that was cool. I thought that was it was neat that that the crowd there was enjoying it. But I still think when you're doing 4 games each week, and remember their 2 biggest markets were not having games this week. So that was another big thing when you actually look at, that type of a thing. Now, TV ratings haven't come out, and I'm hoping that TV ratings should be pretty decent. They had some close games and some fun games to watch this weekend, so hopefully, they'll reap the benefits from that. With it. So, yeah, the narrative is, I already saw them all today, all those articles, and good night. And NBC Sports seems to just want to just take anything they can and put a negative spin on it when it comes to the XFL, and that seems to be what they're doing. And of course, they're doing it again, today with all of the with the attendance numbers, because the attendance numbers are back down this weekend. All in all, I thought that was good, though. I've been thinking, I've been enjoying the XFL. The XFL has been fantastic for me, and the first half of the season has been really, really fun, and it's left us in a place where the second half of the season is going to be fun as well. As I'm looking at these standings, even though the Vipers are 1-4, they really are only 2 games back. So from the playoffs. So if one of these teams, really falls off the cliff, and the Vipers put things together, they really could turn this thing around. And in the West right now, it's a 1-game race, and right now none of these 3 teams, whether it be Dallas, LA, or Seattle, none of them really look like they're going to take it. So things are still open halfway through the season. And what we're going to do is tomorrow night, too, we're going to, not only will I talk about my experiences at the Arnold and kind of talk about that, but I'll also go into, I'm going to do my mid-season we'll do mid-season grade cards, and we'll go through and I'll give my midseason awards out to MVPs and guys who've been the top players at their position and things of that nature. So we'll do that tomorrow too. Have a little fun with that in the live stream. Excuse me. So let's go ahead and get to the games. Listen, this first game with the Roughnecks and the Dragons, I loved it. I loved it down to the last minute, and it was a bit controversial there at the end. They should have had 2 seconds there for Seattle to really try to take it and win it and go with it. But, but by that point of the game, I mean, they had kind of really already been beaten, and, it's really kind of a little shot. So it's a moot point. I don't know if the XFL really needed to reassign, the referee or whatever his title was, the guy that was the head guy over that. I thought that might have been a bit much. But they just needed. I'm glad that they paid attention to what they're doing and taking it pretty seriously. Yeah, but in this game, I was actually really impressed by the Seattle's offense and the way that they were able to move the ball at times and the way they were able to do things. I thought that even though it wasn't a whole lot, I thought that BJ Daniels did fairly decent, ran the offense fairly well. I mean, granted, they were going up against a good Houston defense. Now, I know that this Houston defense has given up some things like that, but I still think it's a fairly decent defense considering their offense is so potent and scores fairly quickly that a lot of times that already hurts your defense because they're getting off, they're getting off the field and then getting right back on the field because a lot of the short drives and things of that nature, short time-wise drives and stuff. So, but, as it looked, though, this game was great. The stars really shined in this game. And so when I looked at it, BJ Daniels looked, he looked the part. He looks the starting quarterback. He understands this offense. He knows how to run this offense, and he needs to just be the starter from here on out. And I think he probably will be. I think that's finally kind of starting to set in for Jim Zorn, that the team needs to take a different turn, and I think that they'll do really well here with BJ Daniels, and so yeah, I'm thinking, I like that, I think they played their hearts out. Seattle did. It just wasn't enough, and they really couldn't hold on in the end. And it just goes to show you just how potent that Houston offense is, and really just how dialed in PJ Walker is. He had another great day. He had 2 interceptions. He started off slow, and that was hard for him. And this Seattle defense, which has played fairly decent all season, really kind of they shined and kind of came through. But once Houston figured him out, it was kind of all game over. And it really, PJ Walker came to life, and so did Phillips. And so after kind of a 1-game hiatus, Phillips was back doing what he does. 122 yards on 10 receptions and 2 touchdowns. I mean, that pretty much just says it right there. Holly stepped up, was great for them again. Mobley was a guy I was kind of surprised with. Came on, I was like, oh. He really, was kind of stepped into his own there with it, which I mean, we've seen glimpses of him, a catch here, a catch there, but really, in this game, I was, it kind of shocked me. I was really kind of surprised with it. And then Williams, number 44, I had not seen him run that hard at all. And really, they gave him the ball more than what they've given him all the rest of the season. And I think that had to do with the fact that they were having struggles with running their normal offense. And so I think that he was a little spark that they kind of needed. Butler was, did kind of his thing in there with it. All in all, it was a good game. And listen, Houston right now is undefeated. They're 5-0, and it's kind of like college. Every week it's going to get tougher and it's going to get harder, and you're going to get everybody's best game. Why? Because they want to knock the king off of the mountain. When you are the king of the mountain, when you're the top of the top, when you're the cream of the crop, when you're the best, teams want to beat you, and they're gunning for you. There's extra added, just kind of that, when they play you, and so yeah, they're going to get every team's best from here on out, and so they're going to have a big target on their back, and it seems so far to do pretty well with that target on their back. We'll see how things progress. and that with it, and if they can continue to handle that. But you know, all in all, from what I've seen with them, it was just sharp. It was a fun game. It was a fun game to watch. You know, the Dragons looked good for me there. You know, and listen, it was back and forth in there, and Houston just ended up having more firepower in the end, and you know, and it showed. And so, you know, hats off to them for continuing to do what they do. Moving on to the second game, and the second game of the weekend, it was kind of one of those for me that was this one was a lot more slower, and it really showed just where Dallas is at without Landry Jones. And that's not in a good place. If you've seen the news that's come out today, you know that Hal Mumme is no longer the offensive coordinator, and that he stepped down, and that the offensive line guy, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, he's stepping up. And he's going to be the offensive coordinator, which he's been an offensive coordinator times before. He's ran a lot of offenses in both pro, you know, and college. The guy's been around for a long time. I think that they're just going to be fine. But this, to me, seems more like a injury move as opposed to something where they're trying to get rid of Hal Mumme, to where he's still going to be an analyst for the team, and you know, somebody who's going to be kind of an advisor type of a position, somebody who is still going to have ties to the team. And so I don't think that this was necessarily something it was either something they wanted to do, that it was a nice convenient thing for them to do as an injury, which I don't, for them to keep him as a position on the team. I doubt that if it was a convenience thing that they would have done it. Like, you know, Bob Stoops wanted to make this move, and with the broken leg, it was an easy way for him to make the move. That might have been part of it, but I think they figured out he can't do it. He can't run the offense like he needs to with it, and so they need to bring somebody else in to do that with this leg the way that it is. And two, the leg might be more serious than what, you know, it was first thought, to where he can't really do the things that they kind of thought that they expected he would be able to do. So, I mean, it's sad to see, but it might help out this offense. This offense was anemic. It was bad. It was like watching that first game all over again. And listen, I hate when I have to be right about somebody, when I, you know, say that they're, you know, not that good, and listen, Nelson just, he's not the answer. You know, I don't care what you say. There's just something about when a guy throws the ball 50 times and he's just coming away with 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. He has 210 yards, and he's 4.3 yards per attempt. He averaged more yards rushing an attempt than he did when he completed a pass. That's just not good. That's not good at all. And, you know, Philip Nelson, you know, I joked about the whole modeling thing and that with it. He's just not the quarterback for them in this offense. I mean, I don't care with the new offensive coordinator, and if they shake some things up and they do some things, Philip Nelson's not going to be the guy, and I don't even know if really Landry Jones will be healthy enough to really be back to really take this team. And this team sitting where they are right now at 2-3, that's not a place for them to just. They need to get a quarterback in there, and if they're going to run this style of offense, they need a quarterback in there who can really zing the ball. And Philip Nelson's not going to be that guy. He's too quick and easy to just check down, and they're going to give him the check down all day because it's only going to get 4 yards, and then what's going to happen is that, you know, it'll end up with 4th and 4, 4th and 6, or something like that, and it's not good for them. They were able to key on the running backs and take the running backs out of the game, and once they did that, you know, Philip Nelson had no answer for them. And that was pretty much the whole game. And listen, the New York Guardians, they just did what they do. Luis Perez, you know, made plays when he needed to make plays, and yeah, I mean, you know, they took advantage of the you know, the Guardians. I mean, sorry, they took advantage of the Renegades, and yeah, it was just kind of one of those games. It was kind of a sleepier type of a game. You know, New York played well. Hats off to them. And listen, Dallas had a great crowd there, and it kind of stinks that, you know, they had a crowd there, and the crowd wasn't able to be a part of this game at all, because Dallas didn't really give them any reason to be part of this game. And a lot of it had to do with the quarterback position. If you don't have a quarterback in this style of offense, you're not going to do anything. You're not going to go anywhere, and that's what happened. End of story. And I think that the Guardians have actually found their quarterback. Luis Perez fits in perfect for this system. He does exactly what they want him to do. And he's calm, he's collected, and they've got some loose cannons on that team. And so for him to be what he is, and the way that he runs his offense, and the way that he doesn't get easily excited and, doesn't really jump on things, but he's the perfect quarterback fit for this team and how this team does. Again, love the way that Victor runs. I've said this time again. Stockton was a guy that shocked me. Man, Stockton came in and played a hard game, played a well-fought game. I thought that it was fantastic. I thought that it was good. All in all, these guys showed up, and, they played. Them bringing in Williams to do the whole short yardage stuff, it's gimmicky to me. I think Luis Perez would be just fine running the offense and having everything at your disposal, because you kind of know what's going to happen when Williams comes in the game. It's going to be a quick RPO. So it's either going to go to the back to him, and they can key on both of them and pretty much be done with that. So I don't like that. But yeah, I mean, again, Pearson had a good game. McKay. McKay. He had a good game. Redding made some receptions. One thing I do want though is Horn has all this potential, and he had a couple drops, and he just really needs. They've been giving him opportunity after opportunity, and it really shows that they think that he's a dynamic player, and he's a guy that they really want to get the ball. But he's just not been taking that advantage and really kind of stepping up and in that. So I kind of wanted to see him there. Unfortunately, there really wasn't a whole lot to say other than that on the Dallas side of things. I mean, they need a quarterback. And hopefully maybe they'll give Dungy a shot. Because right now, anything that he can do is better than Nelson. I mean, if Nelson's dinking and dunking but getting things done, and they're winning by the skin of their teeth, that's one thing. But when you throw 2 interceptions and you're dinking and dunking in that, there's no upside to you. And so Philip Nelson's really giving them nothing, to where I hope that they can get Dungy back in there and give him something with that. So that finishes out Saturday games. Had fun with them. The second one was a little bit sleepier, but it still wasn't necessarily bad to watch, with the Guardians, pulling things off and doing what they were doing. I thought that was good. Now, here comes Sunday's games were shockers, and they were shockers for different reasons. The first game, DC, was just a fun game to watch. Yeah, it was a low-scoring game. They really didn't do a whole lot in there, but there was fun aspects of it, whether it be a pump block, whether it be the beer snake. I never heard of a beer snake before, never knew anything like that existed, and for that to become part of the game and for the fans to really it's one thing when you have people who are coming and they're watching the game and this and that, but when the fans really kind of start to form, you can tell that they're starting to become fans, and they're starting to create things and starting to do things. And the beer snake might just become a DC Defenders thing. It's a thing now. A beer snake's a thing. And, I might just put this win right on the beer snake. Just say that it was because of the beer snake that they won, and that's just it. Because I can tell you, this St. Louis team did not look like St. Louis, and those over 18,000 people really had probably a big to-do with everything that was going on in that stadium, and that the place was rocking, and for some reason, St. Louis did not play like St. Louis. This is the first time I've ever seen St. Louis really that out of sorts. I was surprised when they had they got running yards and that, but they just never seemed to convert on things. And I was just surprised how well DC's defense really stepped up. Jordan Tamau, he had a rough time. They sacked him 4 times. And this guy's one of the most elusive guys there. He has a really good pocket presence in that. Didn't make a whole lot of mistakes, but he only had 174 yards. He still had 60% completion rating. But yeah, just I mean, so yeah, for them to take Tom out of there like that, I was just kind of flabbergasted and taken back. And they didn't really get the big chunk plays like they normally do. They didn't really have anything dynamic, and they really limited them. The DC defense really stepped up in this game, and it shocked me, and I think it shocked a lot of people that they really held this offense of this really potent, especially running potent offense, really held them down. That pump block was amazing. DC got back to being DC again from the first 2 games, and who knows, maybe it's a home thing. So but 5-5 might make you the playoffs. I don't know with that. Looking at the DC defenders, their offense was not good. Jackson came in and he ran the ball a whole bunch. He threw the ball a little bit when you have 9 completions for 39 yards, you're not doing anything. And I don't think he really helped the game. I think that they needed a little spark. They put him in and they just kind of left him in, because he wasn't making mistakes. And listen, Cardale Jones, Pep Hamilton came out and made a statement, and I totally agree with it, that Cardale Jones is still our starting quarterback. There's no comparison between him and Jackson. So, I've called for quarterback changes in, some of these teams and that with it. This is not one where I call that. He threw a ball that he shouldn't have thrown, and Robinson, again, rookie, another good rookie, Kenny Robinson Jr. made a heck of a play. Why the wide receiver let him do what he did and be all over him and jump over him like that to get that ball is beyond me. That wide receiver needs to do something and be better than that. That was just that just looked bad to me with Cardale Jones. But Pep Hamilton needed to do something because that thing was going to head south quick, especially if Cardale, was going to continue on that path. Cardale needs to really settle down, and he really needs to just not get back to playing his ball, but make smart decisions. And when he's been throwing the ball down the field, he's been pushing it and trying to put it in places that it doesn't belong. And it's hurt him and continue to hurt him. If he's going to continue to be the starting quarterback, which Pep Hamilton believes he still is, or at least is saying on paper, then he really needs to clean that up and really shore things up. One, he needs to do a better job of getting the ball to the wide receivers when they're just running basic routes, routes, just little drags and little things across here and there, and he's missing guys. You need to hit those guys. And the other thing is that I think the upside with this team has a lot of potential when he is at his best. But when you put in Jackson does not have the upside that Cardale Jones does, and it has nothing to do with the big arm. If you watched him throw, he's not very accurate. Every ball is just it's just a fastball thrown at you. There's not a lot of touch there. I will say that he's very athletic for as big of a guy as he is, but he's not athletic enough to really make a difference with his legs, other than he just kind of got what he needed to get, and that was about it. And for this offense, they kind of did what they needed to do, scored a little bit that they needed to score, but really they're limited a lot with having him in there. The other thing is that I was really impressed with Presley. Presley has been impressing me with how he's been running, and if you noticed, as I was watching it, Pumphrey's not a bad runner, but the way that they're running and the running style, it fits Presley so much better if they're going to continue to run this way. They need to be running with Presley and not Pumphrey. Pumphrey did not, he's not a guy that's going to fall forward for those extra yards. Presley is, and the way that they're running and the way that they have, he's not giving them those opportunities to really put them in those places where they can take advantage of the advantages that they have with either a play action or some things like that. You can't do that on 3rd and 7. You just can't. So if you run with Pumphrey and you run a couple times and he gets stopped for no gain, that's where you're at. But when you know it's 3rd and 4, that's a different scenario, and that's the difference between a guy getting the ball and, like I said, falling forward, or as a guy who doesn't do that. I mean, that's the difference between, like I said, a 3rd and 7 and a 3rd and 4. And those are huge because you still have the defense thinking run at 3rd and 4. You do. You don't if you're not. So as I look at this, like Cardale Jones definitely helps them out here. And opens up that playbook, especially the play action, which is what Pep Hamilton's wanting to do in that. But the other thing that it does is you need to have a guy like Presley in there. And I think that they started to realize that, but still they're trying to rely too much on Pumphrey. And listen, I want more of what they were doing with Tompkins. They only went to that well once. And you need to go back to those jet sweeps and things like that. I think that that's great. We've already seen that Tompkins has had issues with running the right routes, but yet he's a dynamic player that they want to get the ball to. And what perfect way than to do little things like that, and that throws the defense off. They ran such a predictable offense for the last few weeks. Now, granted, I know they've been behind the sticks and things like that, but they just have not been creative at all as well. And it's just kind of mind-numbing and frustrating. And two, getting back to the quarterback thing, Jackson is not making good decisions. I mean, yeah, he's kind of bailing himself out with some things, but when you're scrambling and every one of your wide receivers are on one side of the field and you run to the other side of the field to like scramble out, that's not what you need to be like. You're not paying attention to the things that are happening in the game and those things to where you're the leader, you're the quarterback, you're the guy that makes plays, put things in, and put your team in positions to win. And I'm not saying that he didn't do what he kind of needed to do to win, but it was ugly and it wasn't in a way that I would trust opening things up and really just giving him the reins to where that's why I'm really kind of just still sold on Cardale Jones. With it. The other thing is I'd like to see some more. They ran a lot of RPO with Jackson, but I'd love to see him run the RPO with Cardale Jones. And meaning, you can either hand the ball off to the running back or, hit the wide receiver on just a little slant route or a little in route or a little, just kind of a little seam route. I would like to see those options and those things because just, Cardale's not going to necessarily going to be your guy that's going to run. But I will say if he gets outside of the pocket and he does have some room, he can rumble a little bit. They just haven't had any of those opportunities. And again, I think that they stuck with Jackson just because they did not want Pep Hamilton didn't want things to snowball. And I think that was a good head coach decision, but I think you go back to Cardale for next week and kind of reevaluate things from there, and I think reset your offense. And I think this was a good win for them to kind of reset things. And the other thing too is it puts them ahead of St. Louis here. Gets them a nice head-to-head win there with a team that was really hot and really, doing well. And St. Louis just didn't look like themselves, and they got beat up by that defense. I was actually shocked. And the defenders held their own and, showed that there's life left in this team. So I was pretty impressed with it, and I thought that was pretty good. So, hats off to the defenders for pulling things out the way they did. It was a little bit by the skin of their teeth and that, but listen, hey, you pulled it off, and so we'll go with that. And then let's go to this nightcap game. That's right, West Coast game after dark, and it was a fun one. And was it a high scoring game? We finally got a shootout. For the XFL, and it was great. It was fun. I mean, we had all the characters out there. You had, Winston Moss. You had guys jumping into the stands left and right, whether or not it was a touchdown or it wasn't a touchdown. It didn't matter. We were jumping in the stands. We were having fun. And, it was a fun game. It was an interesting game all the way around. I thought that early on, it was kind of a tale of LA shooting themselves in the foot and Tampa Bay taking advantage of it, and then Tampa Bay just not being able to do anything, whether it be on defense or offense. It seemed like once Josh Johnson figured out that either him and Norm Child, they figured out this defense. It just felt like that this defense never recovered. And two, I don't necessarily know if it was all them or if it just felt like Glanville just kind of got away from what was really making them tick in the first part. Now, granted, I know that LA, was shooting themselves in the foot, and Josh Johnson threw the ball where he never should have, and there are things like that, but it felt like that LA found ways to answer Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay just never was really able to, really re-answer those. And, Taylor Cornelius, it was his third start, and I thought that he did pretty decent, but when it came down to it in crunch time, he wasn't able to pull it out. Now, granted, he's a young guy. He's a rookie in this league, and, I thought he had all right numbers in that. I don't know if it was on him or the wide receiver there, the interception at the end of the game, that they were driving things down, and it looked pretty good. And I was starting to get my hopes back up that maybe I might win this one against the spread and that, but. Because if they scored the touchdown for me, it was over because it was within one point, and I was gonna, regardless of they won or lost, but he threw the interception. So I don't know if it was on him or if it's the wide receiver. The receiver didn't do what the receiver needed to do there. But I was really impressed with in the second half how they limited the running game, and it really seemed to me that once Patrick went down, that really changed the complexity of their offense and the way they ran their offense. But I will say I agree with the announcers. I don't know why they were running their offense like they were. I mean, running on first down like they were, and just letting LA know and letting LA tee off on their guys and not really shifting things up and changing things. It was very interesting to me. And it felt like, again, Tressman got his hands back on the offense and screwed it up again. That's just me. I don't know. I wasn't in the huddles. I wasn't there with it, but it just felt like that again. Like things kind of got a little off kilter, and so he just kind of inserted himself in there, and it just screwed everything up again. That's the way I feel. And that might not be true. It might be the offensive coordinator, was calling plays and quit calling some good plays. I don't know about that, but. Listen, it was a fun game all around, and the sad part about it is they only had 12,000 people for that game, and that was probably the most fun game of the weekend. And, you had two quarterbacks flinging the ball around. You got to see some amazing catches. You got to see just some back-and-forth football. You got to see some interceptions, fumble recoveries, rumbling and tumbling big guys. And listen, whenever a big guy gets to rumble and tumble, especially for a touchdown, you got to love it. And in this game, it had everything that you wanted in a good shootout football game, and that's the perfect way to end the week and end it on the major cable network, the ESPN station. So hopefully they got good ratings with that game. It was a fun one. I loved it. I enjoyed it. Listen, the XFL's been good football. It's been a great first half of the season, and we will definitely go and give out our grade cards and that stuff coming up tomorrow night. But all in all, my reaction, I had fun watching the games. I wish I was able to kind of be a little bit more in my element with it without all the distractions from this weekend. But listen, they were good distractions. It was fun, and I apologize, guys. This week it's a little disjointed. You get everything all in one condensed video, but we'll be right back at the normal way and be able to kind of pick little things out of here and there, a little bit more out of the different games and things like that. But listen, it was, again, another fun game, another fun week of football, and that's right, we still have football. We got 5 more weeks of regular season and then 2 weeks of playoffs. So listen, we got still a little over a month and a half left of football. So yeah, rejoice and let's have fun. All right, well, that was a lot. I covered a lot, but hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments section, and we'll continue on with the conversation. All right, well, I know that you're busy and know that I'm busy, so have a good night. Bye.